Let's ride, baby.
I know Coach Norvell's not a moral victory guy, but the fact that you're able to put so many running yards on the number 4, 2 rushing defense in the country, what does it say about your guys' unit where you're at right now?
No, those guys got out there and competed, man. I mean, they did it. You know, we got into a situation where we fell behind and we couldn't run it like we wanted to throughout the course of the game, but we were able to kind of get some chunks on the first couple of drives that kind of got us going. But no, there's no moral victory, man. We got to do everything outside of that to be consistent to be able to finish those games.
Does that data give your guys more confidence? I mean, I know you believe in them and they believe in themselves, but when they're able to execute at a level like that against that kind of opponent, does that help for these next 5 weeks?
No, we don't. I don't really give them data for affirmation or anything like that. I just more tell them what it was that broke down of why we're not successful, and kind of just go more in detail on that. Yes, you get it's really play by play and not data. Like, so when we break down the game, it's play by play of what happened and what could I have done better and are you operating at your best. That's kind of pretty much how we break it down. I mean, not much is more of, we're going for one result, but like, were you your best on this play and why not, or why were you? What did you see on this play? Why didn't this happen? You get to a good play like here, we'll bust a wide zone. That's a good job. That's how it's supposed to look. Now you go to another one, it wasn't as good. So it's just more correction in the moment. And once we compile those corrections, we take the top 3 things and we go work on those 3 things that showed up the most. And we go attack those things to make sure we're giving them a specific plan of correction.
Is it a feel-good week in your room right now?
No. What do you mean, like?
I mean, you guys you block your tails off against the number 4 team in the country that had one of the best running defenses. I mean,
yeah. No, it's not too much feel good going in my room anytime. The result really doesn't dictate the standard. It's just, are we operating the way we need to operate? Now, we fully expect to go out there and block. I mean, I thought we would, and I believed we would, but we just didn't do it consistently enough to maintain focus in the game. So it just goes back whether you're playing Clemson, Duquesne. It doesn't matter, Boston College, are we operating how we need to operate to be successful and consistent, and then we kind of continue that. So my big thing was I thought, too much we didn't strain at the bottom of sets. We didn't strain at that level. We kind of got complacent with just the technique of it, being hands inside, being good. Leverage, now what? What's the now what? Sometimes you're on guys, like, so I don't like plays where everybody gets a plus, but you don't get any yards. So, for example, I was supposed to block the 3 technique. I blocked them. My hands are right and good. And I get a plus, but the running back ran into the back of me. Well, you didn't create enough space to create a hole. So now what's the now what after you make contact? So we're more going into that of the now what after I took the proper steps, after I'm on the person I'm supposed to be on, now what am I doing? You're supposed to show up in that moment. Now show me why you're out there.
When the run game was consistent going for large chunks of the game, what was going right during those moments for you guys?
What it should have been, guys with backs were seeing it. Guys were, hold on to the combos, running their feet, post contact, things like that. But that's the standard. There's no other option on that. So we just got to keep building. I think as we go, it should be getting better each game, no matter the opponent. The run, like, we still should start getting more consistent as these guys build more continuity. We're starting to get the same guys on the field, same guys playing. It should start to improve as they're playing together in that same 5 that we're playing.
You talked a couple weeks ago about dictating terms. Have they improved in that department? How much more do they need to do in that regard?
Yeah, a lot of that was us making sure we show them the looks that we could, and Clemson was a multiple front defense. So and I thought that made us kind of simplify the scheme a little bit, which allowed them to play a little bit faster. So I thought we did a good job of putting them in situations where they could dictate and not react. But even the reaction is real. It's going to happen because there's going to be something that happened in the game that you didn't see in practice. And I got to make sure that reaction is on point. So what I do is I coach them with small flashes. So, for example, it's just a movement reaction. If something crosses my face, what do I do? Do I freeze? Do I get my eyes fly? Do I get my eyes high? So it's more giving them small things where if something doesn't go right, what was the movement and what was your reaction to the movement that happened in front of you?
How beneficial is a bye week for the O-line, both in getting healthy, but also just in kind of pausing, taking a moment, collecting themselves, preparing for the
Well, it's more reflection. You get time to kind of go back through those other games and re-hit those mistakes that happened. Like, what happened, and what is consistently showing up. So it's not really like a pause. It's more of a reflection. Like, all right, let's break down. I might take Dylan Gibbons and I say, hey, we're going to, because we note the film. Every mistake he has, there's a note and there's a specific word that's put in. So what happens is we can sort that and what's showing up the most in the top 3. Now let's go attack that. Let's show it to him. Let's have a one-on-one meeting and let's talk about what we need to do corrections to get this moving forward.
With the 6 linemen that you're leaning on the most right now, they're pretty good at recognizing that themselves.
Yeah, they are. They are. But also, there needs to be some strict instruction on the process and the structure to get improvement to make sure we're on the same page. Because they might see it and say, all right, I'm going to go out here and do 10 more pass sets, but that might not be necessarily what I need them to do. They might just think I'm going to go work, but it might be something simple as stand off your feet and let's go work reaction drills with your hands. So there's a balance between the work of them wanting to go out there and be on their feet all day to me saying, no, let's go watch this player and see what he does, or let's do something that fits more to your skill set.
What are some things that you balance with? So you mentioned how much there's continuity now with the offensive line, and that's something you guys been working towards. You have 6 that you like and that you trust. Would you consider adding someone else into the mix too, like in the game rotation to get a 7th, or do you want to just kind of keep that continuity right now?
That goes on practice, who shows up that's deserving of that place. And we got some guys, some young guys that are really, really starting to come along. Like, Julian's, he's steady working. Kevin, Jalen Early, steady working, improving. Things like Estes, like guys are steady working and improving, but it has to be consistent. Everybody has a good week. Everybody has a good day in practice. Are you having a good 3 weeks in practice? Then I start to see, all right, now he's ready for a challenge. And then usually what I have is I challenge him more. Because habit is it's easy to function without responsibility. So when you're in practice, it's not up to you whether we're going to win the game. So your practice is a little bit different than the guy like Rob Scott who comes out there, and if he messes up twice, that's the end of the game. So they have to feel that sense of responsibility while they're in practice, and I continue to kind of load that on them to kind of feel like, hey, if you don't get this done, we're doing 400 up downs. Like things like that to give them a pressure moment to see how they react.
How do you go about self-scouting when you haven't had the same starting 5 every game, had a couple of injuries?
Yeah, self-scouting starts, number one, as the coaches of what we've done and what we've called and the situation we put them in. That starts with holding ourselves accountable first. After that, then the players' more self-scouting has become their top 3 mistakes, because that's what they want to see. So we'll have their top 3 mistakes, and then we'll have the things they're doing well. Like, hey, you're doing this well. You have to identify that so they know it, so they keep doing it well. But you also want to just be more specific. Like, you can't come in there and say, we're going to fix 14 mistakes that you had. That's just not real. So we narrow it to 3. That's the number, 3. And we go through and we say, hey, what are you doing individually throughout practice? Because what if we don't have that on the period? Like, what if we go to practice and we don't have what you're failing in our individual drills? So what are you doing before and after to get that work? But you got to identify it first.
Competition makes everybody better on a recruiting aspect. I mean, the amount of talent that is interested in your guys' program right now that you've got, talking to you guys. How is that helping you as a coordinator, as an offensive line coach, really?
Awesome. I mean, in recruiting is a unique deal because it creates our sport with year-round competition. Where even though you're not playing them on the field, you're playing them in recruiting, so there's like a fan-based battle and things like that. But the reality of it is you better find a fit. You better find a person that wants to be here and wants to sacrifice for everybody on this team, like to really be bought into it. And that's the structure you're facing. So the recruiting is really convincing them that, hey, you want this. This is what you want, because once that decision is made, the shiny sun goes away. Now you in tour duty, So it's not as cute anymore. The edits are not popping anymore. So now where you want to go and who do you want to be in those, where and who do you want to be with during those moments? So it's really just a get to know period and relationship building of where do you want to be in the bad moments and who do you want to celebrate the good moments with. So that takes time. That's why you see all this flipping and flopping and all this kind of stuff, because it takes time to grow and be sure these are the people I want to be with and this is who I'm going to give my all to. Because if you sign a good player in high school, that means he's going to be a good player in college. So you got to make sure he still continues and want to develop with the guys that's around him.
I mean, the fact that it seems like so many of these top flight players, they are interested in your player.
Oh yeah.
How much of a luxury is that for you right now? You can be picky and selective at this point.
Oh yeah, we like good players that make good coaches. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'm excited that good players are interested in our program, but this is Florida State, man. I mean, it doesn't get much better. And I think everybody's seeing the improvement. They're seeing all that kind of stuff. That's good. And I wish I can take a moment to kind of look at that, but it's more just what do I need to get better and making sure we're on the progress to play our best ball at the end of October and November.
You've had a lot of success running out of the 2 tight end sets. I guess maybe a multiple-part question. Why? And then is that sustainable across larger portions of games moving forward, or is it just, again, part of what the defense allows you to?
Yeah, each game is its own game. I can't go and say, hey, there's 12 person that's going to be best in this game, but it might not be good in this game. So I can't really say it's just the personnel grouping itself. I think a lot of it comes from the defense giving it to us with the look that would fit us, the matchup, the leverage, the angles. Are we putting them, the backs hit? Like, it's so many variables to it. The reality of it is it's got to be consistent, whether you're 11, 12, 10 personnel. We got to have people in front of people leveraging the football between man, ball, me relationship to make sure that happens no matter who's out there. And I think we're starting to understand those angles as we're growing together as an offense.
Coach Norvell talked about how Robert Scott, his freshman year, kind of, surprised him. And really I'm wondering,
How much easier is it for a younger guy later in the season or early in the season kind of push for playing time?
It depends on that player. Rob is one of the best listeners I've ever been around, where like he holds you responsible for a coach because he's going to do exactly what you tell him to do. He gets the information and he retains the information and he can apply the information. Now, we were surprised because when we got out here on this field, he can barely do anything, physically. Like he couldn't, we had to separate him from the group. That's a big thing we do is we have like an advanced group and a non-advanced group, and we kind of separate them through individual to make sure they stay on pace with what they do. He stayed in a non-advanced group for a long time, almost through the kickoff of the first game. And then he started to get it, his movement started coming under control. He started to understand it. But he was good at processing information, so he was going to find his way out there once he can control his body. So I think, that's another thing that goes into the evaluation. The guy can be big, strong, fast, all these kind of things at O-line. If he goes out there and the end goes inside and he don't know what to do, he's the worst player in the country. So he has to be able to process information, see the flags, and be able to react. And Rob is a guy that can do that mentally better than most that I've been around.
What about Coach Lyles? I know you'd rather have him
Old coach.
right now.
Yeah.
How valuable is this experience going to be for maybe what he can help you guys out with?
What Lyles and guys like that, they bring different perspective because when you sign a player and they've been here, all they know is here. So Coach Lyles, comes from a family that used to move around a lot, so he's got a lot of different experience, whether he live in Arizona, Wisconsin, things like that. He played at a different program with different O-line coaches, so he played D-line also. So he gives them perspective because there's always a moment of confusion, like a young player, like a dog should be looking like, is it supposed to be like this? And Lyles, who's in the locker room, would say, yes, this is the way it is, you messing this up. So and then they have a little bit more reassurance because they know the coach is going to get on them. So when they can get it from another perspective, like, no, that's no different. The grass is not like, it's no different. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to be at. So having that reassurance definitely helps.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
No problem.
Thank you, Coach.